It sounds impossible, but in this place, bread is baked underground by the earth itself, and the ocean throws diamonds onto the beach. You see, this island breaks every rule of nature. We are tracking a force that can turn day into night and water into steam in the blink of an eye. From the eerie silence of abandoned film sets to the roar of Europe's most powerful waterfall, you are not prepared for what is coming. The thing nobody tells you is that here, the landscape is watching you back, and it does not like intruders. Welcome to Reykjavik. It feels less like a city, and more like a huddled group of survivors clinging to the edge of the Arctic. But right on the waterfront, something glitters that does not belong. This is the Harper Concert Hall. To put it mildly, it looks like a spaceship crashed into a Viking harbor. The entire building is wrapped in a skin of glass honeycombs. It was designed to look like basalt columns, the volcanic rock that shapes this island. But the story of this building is almost as dramatic as a volcano itself. You see, back in the year 2008, Iceland was in trouble. The economy had collapsed. Banks were failing. People were losing their savings. And right in the middle of this panic, the government had to make a choice. They had a half-finished concert hall sitting by the water. They could leave it as a rotting skeleton, a monument to failure, or they could spend 164 million euros to finish it. They chose to build. It was a massive gamble. Many locals were furious. They saw it as a waste of money while the country was burning. But today, Harper is the heartbeat of the city. The glass facade, designed by artist Ólafur Eliasson, is not just for show. It holds 714 LED strips that can turn the entire building into a moving video screen. In the year 2014, they even used it to play a giant game of Pong. But step inside, and the scale hits you. The main hall, Eldborg, has 1,800 seats and is painted a deep, fiery red to look like the inside of a magma chamber. What is wild is that there are no curtains and no frame around the stage. The sound is so perfect they do not need them. It hosts everything from the symphony to world yo-yo contests. Yes, really. A yo-yo contest took over this architectural wonder in the year 27. It is a symbol of how this country refuses to stay down. But while the lights of Harper shimmer like the northern sky, there is something else rising above the city rooftops, watching over everyone. A stone giant is waiting just up the hill. If Harper is the modern face of Iceland, this next spot is its ancient soul. Rising from the top of Skólavörðuholt Hill is the Hallgrímskirkja Church. You cannot miss it. It stands 244 feet tall, making it the tallest building in the entire country. But look closer. It does not look like a normal church. It looks like a rocket ship ready to launch, or perhaps a massive Viking helmet. That is because the architect, Gudjon Samuelsson, wanted it to look like the land itself. He designed the wings of the church to look like cooling lava traps and basalt columns. It is raw, grey, and imposing. But building this beast was a nightmare. It took 41 years to finish. Construction started in the year 1945, right as the World War was ending, and did not finish until 1986. For decades, it was just a construction site looming over the town. Some legends even say the design is meant to ward off evil spirits and protect the city from the chaotic weather. Inside, it is surprisingly simple, but the real treasure is the organ. It is a monster. It stands 49 feet tall and weighs 25 tons. It has 5,275 pipes. When it plays, the sound shakes your bones. Outside the church stands a statue of Leif Erikson, the Viking explorer. What many overlooked is that this statue was a gift from the United States way back in the year 1930. It was given to celebrate 1,000 years of the Icelandic Parliament. You can take an elevator to the top of the tower. From there, the colorful tin roofs of Reykjavik look like Lego bricks scattered in the snow. It is a peaceful view. People come here to light candles and watch the winter sun dip below the horizon, but do not get too comfortable. While this church mimics the shape of volcanoes, there is a place just 40 minutes away where the heat is very, very real. The water there is not supposed to be that color. Everyone has seen the pictures. People floating in milky blue water, steam rising around them, white mud on their faces. This is the Blue Lagoon. It looks like a natural wonder, a gift from the gods. But here is the thing nobody tells you. It is not natural at all. In fact, it is arguably the most beautiful industrial accident in the world. You see, the lagoon is fed by the water output of the nearby Svartsengi geothermal power plant. Back in the year 1976, the plant started drilling for steam to make electricity. The leftover water, rich in silica and sulfur, was dumped into the lava field next door. They thought it would seep into the ground. It did not. The silica clogged the volcanic rock and a pool formed. It was essentially an industrial dump site. But then, in the year 1981, a man with a skin condition called psoriasis decided to bathe in it. People thought he was crazy, but his skin got better. The water was healing him. By the year 1987, it officially opened as a spa. Today, the water stays at a perfect 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It renews itself every 40 hours. And here is a wild fact. There is no chlorine in this water. It does not need it. The unique mix of algae, silica, and minerals is so potent that no bacteria can survive in it. It cleans itself. But this paradise is living on borrowed time. The Reykjanes Peninsula, where the lagoon sits, has woken up. Between the years 2023 and 2025, massive volcanic eruptions opened up cracks in the earth just miles away. The lava flows forced the lagoon to evacuate multiple times. Guests had to flee the luxury hotels as sirens wailed. It is a stark reminder that in Iceland, nature is always the boss. You are soaking in luxury, but just beneath the crust, the planet is tearing itself apart. And just down the road, you can actually step into the crack. Imagine standing with your left foot in North America and your right foot in Europe. In most places, that is impossible. But here on the Reykjanes Peninsula, at the bridge between continents, it is a daily reality. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It is the scar where two massive tectonic plates are pulling away from each other, and when I say pulling, I mean it. These plates are moving apart at a rate of 0.8 inches every single year. It might sound slow, but over millions of years, this movement is what rips Iceland in half. The bridge itself is a small footbridge built over a fissure in the sand. It was renamed in honor of Leif Erikson, symbolizing the connection between the old world and the new, but standing there feels strange. You are looking at a gap in the earth that goes down deep into the crust. The landscape around you looks like the moon, black sand, jagged rocks, and almost no life. It is desolate. You can feel the wind whipping through the gap, a reminder of the forces at play. It is a favorite spot for travelers to take a picture holding a sign that says Mid-Atlantic Ridge. But this is just a small crack compared to what lies east. We are heading towards a place where this tectonic violence creates something loud, wet, and absolutely terrifying. The river ahead is about to vanish into the earth. This is Gullfoss, the Golden Falls. If you stand too close, you cannot hear yourself think. The river Havita, fed by the melting Langjökull glacier, comes roaring down here at a speed of 4,900 cubic feet per second. In the summer, that number jumps even higher. The water crashes down 32 meters into a narrow canyon, kicking up so much spray that on a sunny day, you are almost guaranteed to see a rainbow. But you almost never saw this at all. Back in the early 20th century, foreign investors wanted to buy this waterfall. They wanted to build a hydroelectric dam. It would have killed the falls forever. A local farmer's daughter, Sigridur Thomasdottir, fought them. She walked barefoot all the way to Reykjavik to protest. Legend says she threatened to throw herself into the waterfall if they built the dam. She was bluffing, perhaps, but her fierce love for this place saved it. Today, she is considered Iceland's first environmentalist, and thank goodness she won. Gullfoss is massive. It has appeared in music videos and even served as a pit stop for the amazing race. In the year 2025, it was even featured as a natural wonder in the video game Civilization 7. But look closely at the water. It is brown and grey, heavy with sediment carried from the glaciers. It is liquid sandpaper carving out the rock. This water has traveled miles to get here, but its journey started in a place that is even more historically significant. A valley where Vikings made the laws of the land. We have arrived at Thingvellir National Park. This is not just a park, it is a shrine. This is where the North American and Eurasian plates are not just a bridge, but a massive valley. You can see the cliff face of North America rising up like a wall, but the history here is darker than the geology. In the year 930, yes, over 1,000 years ago, Vikings gathered here to form the Althing, the oldest parliament in the world. They stood by the law rock and recited the rules of the land. But justice here was brutal. There are pools in the river where women were drowned for crimes and fire pits where men were burned. It is a beautiful place with a bloody past. Fans of Game of Thrones might recognize the narrow canyons. This is where they filmed the path to the Eyrie, but the wildest part is hidden underwater. There is a fissure called Silfra. It is a crack between the continents filled with glacial water. The water is so clean you can drink it while you swim. Divers come from all over the world to snorkel here. The visibility is over 300 feet. It feels like flying. But be warned, the water is 36 degrees Fahrenheit. It is freezing. You need a dry suit just to survive, and the ground is still moving. Earthquakes are frequent here. In the year 2000, a quake drained the water from the rift, only for it to fill back up. The lake to the south, Thingvallavatn, hides its own secrets, including a species of fish that has evolved into 4 different types in just 10,000 years. It is an evolutionary laboratory, but if you think the water here is strange, wait until you see the water that explodes. The ground is about to spit boiling water at us. Welcome to the Haukadalur Valley, home of the Geysir. This is the place that gave the word geyser to the English language. The Great Geysir itself has been quiet lately, only erupting after big earthquakes. In the year 2000, an earthquake shook it awake, and it shot water 400 feet into the air. But mostly, it sleeps. The real star today is its little brother, Strokr. Strokr is reliable. Every 5 to 10 minutes, a blue bubble forms on the surface of the pool. It swells like a giant glass eye, and then, boom! A column of boiling water shoots 60 to 100 feet into the air. It is a crowd pleaser, but few people realize how dangerous this ground is. Just 75 feet below your shoes, the water is 248 degrees Fahrenheit. The plumbing system down there is complex. It is a vertical tunnel that acts like a pressure cooker. In the year 1981, locals tried to force the Great Geysir to erupt by dumping soap into it. It worked, but it damaged the plumbing, so they stopped. Now we just wait for nature to do its thing. The smell of sulfur, rotten eggs is everywhere. It sticks to your clothes. Around the geysers, there are smaller pools of bubbling mud and steam vents hissing like snakes. It feels prehistoric. You half expect a dinosaur to walk out of the mist. But the locals have found a way to use this heat for something very specific and very delicious. They are burying their lunch in the sand. At Logavatten Fontana, a spa just down the road, they do not use ovens, they use the beach. The sand here is sizzling hot thanks to the geothermal vents underneath. Every day, the bakers dig a hole in the black sand. They take a pot filled with dough, a dense, dark rye bread, wrap it tight and bury it. They leave it there for exactly 24 hours. When they come back and dig it up, the bread is fully baked. It is sweet, dense and warm. They serve it with copious amounts of Icelandic butter. It is a tradition that goes back to the Viking times. Why waste wood for a fire when the ground is a stove? The spa here also has steam rooms that are built directly over the vents. You can hear the steam hissing up through the floorboards. It is a strange sensation sitting in a room heated by the magma deep below. It connects you to the earth in a way that feels primal. You are eating the heat, breathing the heat, and soaking in the heat. But not every hole in the ground here is full of life and warmth. Some are just empty, dead scars left behind by violence. Cliffhanger. A giant red eye is staring at the sky. Just a short drive away, the earth opens up again, but this time it looks completely different. This is Kerid Crater. Unlike the grey and black landscapes we just saw, this place is a shocking explosion of color. The rocks are a deep, rusty red because of all the iron in the soil. And at the bottom, there is a lake of neon turquoise water. To put it mildly, it looks like a giant eye staring up at the sky. Scientists used to think this was formed by a massive explosion. But what many overlooked is that it was actually a quiet collapse. About 3,000 years ago, the magma chamber underneath the volcano emptied out, and the heavy roof just fell in. It created a perfect bowl. The acoustics here are incredible. It acts like a natural amphitheater. The famous Icelandic singer Björk once held a concert right here on a floating raft in the middle of the lake. Visitors stood on the sloping walls to watch. It is surreal. The water is about 46 feet deep. And because it is groundwater, it does not freeze as easily as other lakes. You can walk all the way down to the water's edge. The contrast between the red slopes, the green moss, and the blue water is a photographer's dream. But while this water sits still, our next stop features water that is falling from the sky, and you can walk right through the curtain. We are now heading to the south coast, and you can see this monster from the road. This is ICELAND Foss. It drops nearly 200 feet over an ancient sea cliff. The coastline used to be here thousands of years ago, but the ocean retreated, leaving this massive drop behind. The water comes directly from the Eyjafjallajökull volcano, the one that erupted in 2010 and stopped all air travel in Europe. But the real magic here is not looking at it from the front. You see, there is a pathway that leads behind the waterfall. You can actually walk behind the roaring curtain of water. It is loud, it is slippery, and you will get soaked. There is no escaping the mist. It feels like standing inside a storm. The view from behind the water, looking out at the green fields and the setting sun, is one of the most famous shots in the country. It became even more famous when Justin Bieber filmed a music video here, running through the wet grass. But be careful. In the winter, the path turns into a sheet of ice and they have to close it. It is too dangerous. Even in summer, the rocks are slick. But if you think this is impressive, just down the road is its bigger, more powerful rival. This next one is hiding a chest of gold. Meet Skogafoss. If Seljalandsfoss is elegant, Skogafoss is a brute. It is 82 feet wide and drops the same 200 feet, but the volume of water is insane. It creates a constant wall of white noise. Because of the massive amount of spray, you can see a double rainbow here almost every single time the sun comes out. It is magical. But according to legend, there is something valuable hidden behind that wall of water. The story goes that the first Viking settler in the area, a giant named Thrassi, buried a chest filled with gold coins in a cave behind the falls. Locals say that years later a young boy found the chest. He grabbed the ring on the side of the box and pulled, but the chest was too heavy. The ring broke off in his hand and the treasure disappeared back into the earth. You can actually see that ring today. It is mounted on the door of the local church museum. But you do not need gold to enjoy this place. You can climb the stairs on the right side. There are 527 metal steps. It is a grueling workout, but at the top you can look down the river and see the water rushing towards the edge. It is a dizzying view. The sheer power of gravity here is terrifying, but believe it or not, the ocean nearby is even more aggressive. The waves on this beach are hunting you. This is Reynisfjara. It is widely considered one of the most beautiful non-tropical beaches in the world. The sand is pitch black, created by hot lava hitting the cold ocean and shattering into tiny fragments. Rising out of the sea are massive basalt stacks called Reynisdranger. Folklore says these were trolls who were dragging a ship to land but got caught by the sunrise and turned to stone. But to put it mildly, this beach is a death trap. The ocean here is incredibly deep right off the shore. There is no land between here and Antarctica, so the waves have thousands of miles to build up power. They call them sneaker waves. The sea can look calm for 10 minutes, and then suddenly a massive wave surges way up the beach, knocking people off their feet and dragging them out. Tragically, tourists have lost their lives here. There is a warning light system now, green, yellow and red, to tell people when to stay away. The thing nobody tells you is that the suction of the receding water is so strong you cannot swim against it. Aside from the danger, there is a cave on the beach made of hexagonal basalt columns. It looks like a church organ carved by aliens. It is stunning, but always keep one eye on the water. Nature here does not play fair. Now we enter the kingdom of ice. We are leaving the coast and heading towards the monster that defines this island. This is Vatnajökull National Park. The glacier here is colossal. It covers nearly 3,000 square miles. That is about 8% of the entire country. In some places, the ice is 3,000 feet thick. It is so big it has its own weather system, but the real drama is what is underneath. You see, hiding under this massive block of ice are active volcanoes. The most famous one is Grimsvotn. When these volcanoes erupt, the heat melts the ice from the bottom up. This creates a massive pocket of water that eventually bursts. It causes a Jökullaub, a glacial flash flood that washes away roads and bridges in minutes. It is a constant battle between fire and ice. This park is also where they filmed scenes for Interstellar and Batman Begins. It looks like an alien planet. You can take guided hikes on the ice wearing crampons, spikes for your boots to keep from sliding into a crevasse. The ice is constantly moving, cracking and groaning. It feels alive. And at the edge of this glacier, the ice breaks off to create a lagoon that is arguably the crown jewel of Iceland. The icebergs are about to set sail. Welcome to Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon. It looks like a fantasy movie set. Massive chunks of ice, some as big as apartment buildings, break off the glacier tongue and float in this lagoon. The water is a mix of fresh glacial melt and salt water from the ocean. This makes the water a stunning blue. The lagoon is the deepest lake in Iceland, reaching depths of over 800 feet. But what many overlooked is that this lagoon is new. It did not exist 100 years ago. It formed because the glacier is retreating rapidly due to warming temperatures. The lagoon has quadrupled in size since the 1970s. It is beautiful, but it is a sign of a changing world. You might recognize this place from two different James Bond movies, A View to a Kill and Die Another Day. You can take an amphibious boat tour right among the icebergs. You will see black streaks on the blue ice. That is ash from past volcanic eruptions, trapped inside like a time capsule. Seals often hang out here, resting on the ice floes to avoid the killer whales in the ocean. The icebergs drift slowly towards the ocean, but their journey does not end when they hit the sea. The ocean throws them back on shore. Just across the street from the lagoon is Brida Sandur, better known as Diamond Beach. This is where the icebergs that drift out to sea get pushed back onto the black sand by the tide. The contrast is unbelievable. The ice chunks are clear, white or electric blue, and they sit on the jet black volcanic sand. They glitter in the sunlight just like diamonds. Some of these chunks are small enough to hold in your hand, others are the size of a car. Walking here feels magical, but you have to be careful. The tide moves the ice around, and even a small chunk can weigh tons. If it rolls on you, it will crush you. Photographers flock here at sunrise because the light shining through the ice creates colors you cannot see anywhere else. The ice eventually melts into the ocean, completing a cycle that has lasted thousands of years. It falls as snow, turns to ice, travels down the mountain, floats in the lagoon, and washes up here to melt. It is poetic, but we are not done with waterfalls yet. We have to head back inland to find one that inspired the architecture of the entire capital city. This waterfall wears a stone jacket. Hidden inside Skaftafell, part of the Vatnajökull Park, is Svartifoss. The name literally means Black Falls. It is not the biggest waterfall, dropping only about 65 feet, but the setting is unique. These are basalt columns, formed when lava cools very slowly and cracks into perfect geometric shapes. Does this look familiar? It should. This waterfall was the direct inspiration for the design of the Hallgrímskirkja church in Reykjavik that we saw at the start. The architect saw these hanging columns and wanted to recreate them in concrete. To get here, you have to hike for about 45 minutes uphill. It is a bit of a trek, but the view is worth it. The contrast of the white water against the black rock is stark. The water here is crystal clear, drinking quality. Downstream, the river cuts through the green hills, offering views all the way to the ocean. It is a peaceful spot, far from the tour buses that crowd the road, but Iceland is full of abandoned dreams, not just natural ones. We are about to visit a village that was built for a movie that never happened. Vikings were supposed to live here. Just a short drive away, the earth opens up again, but this time it looks completely different. This is Kerid Crater. Unlike the grey and black landscapes we just saw, this place is a shocking explosion of color. The rocks are a deep rusty red because of all the iron in the soil, and at the bottom there is a lake of neon turquoise water. To put it mildly, it looks like a giant eye staring up at the sky. Scientists used to think this was formed by a massive explosion, but what many overlooked is that it was actually a quiet collapse. About 3,000 years ago, the magma chamber underneath the volcano emptied out, and the heavy roof just fell in. It created a perfect bowl. The acoustics here are incredible. It acts like a natural amphitheater. The famous Icelandic singer Björk once held a concert right here on a floating raft in the middle of the lake. Visitors stood on the sloping walls to watch. It is surreal. The water is about 46 feet deep, and because it is groundwater, it does not freeze as easily as other lakes. You can walk all the way down to the water's edge. The contrast between the red slopes, the green moss, and the blue water is a photographer's dream. But while this water sits still, our next stop features water that is falling from the sky. And you can walk right through the curtain. We are now heading to the south coast, and you can see this monster from the road. This is Seljalandsfoss. It drops nearly 200 feet over an ancient sea cliff. The coastline used to be here thousands of years ago, but the ocean retreated. Leaving this massive drop behind. The water comes directly from the Eyjafjallajökull volcano, the one that erupted in 2010 and stopped all air travel in Europe. But the real magic here is not looking at it from the front. You see, there is a pathway that leads behind the waterfall. You can actually walk behind the roaring curtain of water. It is loud, it is slippery, and you will get soaked. There is no escaping the mist. It feels like standing inside a storm. The view from behind the water, looking out at the green fields and the setting sun, is one of the most famous shots in the country. It became even more famous when Justin Bieber filmed a music video here, running through the wet grass. But be careful. In the winter, the path turns into a sheet of ice, and they have to close it. It is too dangerous. Even in summer, the rocks are slick. But if you think this is impressive, just down the road is its bigger, more powerful rival. This next one is hiding a chest of gold. Meet Skogafoss. If Seljalandsfoss is elegant, Skogafoss is a brute. It is 82 feet wide and drops the same 200 feet, but the volume of water is insane. It creates a constant wall of white noise. Because of the massive amount of spray, you can see a double rainbow here almost every single time the sun comes out. It is magical, but according to legend, there is something valuable hidden behind that wall of water. The story goes that the first Viking settler in the area, a giant named Thrasi, buried a chest filled with gold coins in a cave behind the falls. Locals say that years later, a young boy found the chest. He grabbed the ring on the side of the box and pulled. But the chest was too heavy. The ring broke off in his hand, and the treasure disappeared back into the earth. You can actually see that ring today. It is mounted on the door of the local church museum. But you do not need gold to enjoy this place. You can climb the stairs on the right side. There are 527 metal steps. It is a grueling workout, but at the top you can look down the river and see the water rushing towards the edge. It is a dizzying view. The sheer power of gravity here is terrifying. But believe it or not, the ocean nearby is even more aggressive. The waves on this beach are hunting you. This is Reynisfjara. It is widely considered one of the most beautiful, non-tropical beaches in the world. The sand is pitch black, created by hot lava hitting the cold ocean and shattering into tiny fragments. Rising out of the sea are massive basalt stacks called Reynisdranger. Folklore says these were trolls who were dragging a ship to land but got caught by the sunrise and turned to stone. But to put it mildly, this beach is a death trap. The ocean here is incredibly deep right off the shore. There is no land between here and Antarctica. So the waves have thousands of miles to build up power. They call them sneaker waves. The sea can look calm for 10 minutes and then suddenly a massive wave surges way up the beach, knocking people off their feet and dragging them out. Tragically, tourists have lost their lives here. There is a warning light system now, green, yellow, and red, to tell people when to stay away. The thing nobody tells you is that the suction of the receding water is so strong, you cannot swim against it. For years it stood empty, battered by the harsh winds of the Atlantic. It became a ghost town for a ghost story that was never told. Today, it is open to tourists. You can walk through the muddy streets and touch the fake defenses. The craftsmanship is surprisingly good. It feels real, but the only residents now are the local birds. Puffins and eider ducks often nest in the turf roofs. It is a strange feeling standing in a fake historic site while the very real jagged peaks of Vestrahorn loom above you like black teeth. It is one of the most photogenic spots in the country, but the journey to our next stop requires nerves of steel. The road ahead climbs over a wall of snow. To get to Seyðisfjörður, you have to drive over a high mountain pass called Fjarðarheiði. In the winter, this road is terrifying. It is steep, icy, and often engulfed in whiteouts where you cannot see the hood of your own car. But once you descend down the other side, you find a jewel hidden in the fjord. This is arguably the most culturally vibrant village in Iceland. It is famous for one specific street. A pedestrian path painted in the colors of the rainbow leads straight to a cute baby blue church. It looks like something out of a fairy tale. This town was booming in the 19th century because of the herring industry, the silver of the sea. Rich merchants from Norway brought wooden kit houses and set them up here. That is why the architecture looks so different from the rest of Iceland. Recently, it gained fame as the setting for the Netflix movie about the Eurovision Song Contest. But there is a serious side to this beauty. In the year 2020, a massive landslide hit the town, destroying several historic houses. It was a tragedy that reminded everyone that the steep mountains are not just for show. This town is also the only place in Iceland where you can take a car ferry to mainland Europe. It is the gateway to the world, but nature here is painting with a different brush, just inland. The rocks here have red stripes. We are now in the east, hiking up to Hengifoss, standing at 420 feet tall. This is the third highest waterfall in the entire country. But height is not the main attraction here. It is the color. The cliff face behind the waterfall looks like a layer cake. There are black layers of basalt lava, and sandwiched between them are bright red stripes of clay. These red layers are ancient soil. They tell a story of a time, millions of years ago, when Iceland was much warmer. Between volcanic eruptions, trees and plants grew, creating soil. Then another volcano erupted, burying the forest in lava and baking the soil into this red clay. It happened over and over again. To put it mildly, you are looking at a geological history book. The hike to get up here takes about an hour, and it is a steady climb. You can stand near the edge, carefully, and look down into the canyon. The water drifts down in a long, elegant ribbon. It is less violent than the waterfalls in the south, but much more graceful. However, most people are so focused on the top that they walk right past a hidden gem on the way up. A geometric masterpiece is hiding halfway down. This is Litlenesfoss. It sits about halfway up the trail to Hengifoss. While it is smaller, many photographers actually prefer it. Why? Because the basalt columns here are some of the most perfect in the world. They are long, straight, and hexagonal, fanning out around the waterfall like a fan or a pipe organ. It is rare to see columns this high and this straight. They form when thick lava flows cool down and contract. The cracking pattern is pure physics in action. The river cuts right through the middle of them, crashing into a small pool below. It is a loud, energetic spot. You can get quite close to the edge here to see the tops of the columns. They look like a honeycomb made of stone. It is a great place to catch your breath before the final push to the top, but we are leaving the waterfalls for a moment to head north. We are going to a place that was built to catch the midnight sun, a place that feels like it belongs in a fantasy novel. Stone giants are waiting near the Arctic Circle. Way up in the northeast, in the tiny village of Raufarhofen, something strange is rising from the tundra. This is the Arctic Henge. It is huge. It was designed to be a modern version of Stonehenge, but deeply rooted in Norse mythology. There are 4 massive stone gates standing 20 feet high, arranged in a circle. The design is based on the poem Voluspa, which tells the story of the creation of the world and its eventual doom. There are 72 smaller stones representing the dwarves from the legend. The layout is a giant sundial. It captures the light of the midnight sun in June and the low light of the winter solstice. It is not fully finished yet, but that adds to the mystery. It feels like ruins from a lost civilization, even though it is new. It sits on a hill overlooking the ocean just a few miles from the Arctic Circle. The wind here is relentless. Standing in the center of the stones, aligning your view with the sun, feels spiritual. It is a monument to the old gods. But just south of here, the land is very much alive and filled with tiny, flying annoyances. Prepare to be eaten alive by flies. Welcome to Lake Mývatn. The name literally translates to Midge Lake, and they are not joking. In the summer, millions of midges, tiny flies, form massive clouds that look like smoke. They get in your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. You might see people wearing nets over their heads. Do not laugh. You will want one too. But if you can ignore the bugs, this place is a wonderland. The lake sits on an active volcanic belt. It is famous for its pseudo-craters. These look like volcano cones, but they never erupted lava. They formed when hot lava flowed over a wet swamp. The water underneath boiled instantly, causing steam explosions that blew the ground apart, creating these perfect little cones. You can walk around the rims of them. This area is also the duck capital of Europe. Farmers here have harvested duck eggs for centuries, but pop culture fans know this place as the land of the wildlings from Game of Thrones. This is where Jon Snow camped. The lava fields nearby, called Dimmuborgir, are a maze of twisted black rock. It is said that the Yule lads, Iceland's mischievous Santa Clauses, live in these rocks. But just over the hill, the landscape turns from black rock to orange mud. The smell here will hit you first. This is Namaskar, also known as Havaria. As soon as you open your car door, the smell punches you in the face. It smells like rotten eggs, but 1,000 times worse. That is the sulfur gas rising from the earth. The ground here is stained in vivid colors of orange, yellow, and white. To put it mildly, it looks like the surface of Mars. There is no grass, no moss. The soil is too acidic and hot for anything to grow. Instead, you have mud pots. These are pools of gray and blue mud that boil and bubble aggressively. The sound is a thick, rhythmic gloop, gloop. Steam vents scream as high-pressure gas escapes from underground. The temperature of the steam can reach 390 degrees Fahrenheit. Ropes keep you on the path for a reason. If you step off, you could melt the soles of your shoes, or worse. It is a stark reminder that the crust of the earth here is paper thin. You are walking on top of a boiler room, but all this heat and energy has to go somewhere. Just a short drive away, the most powerful force in Europe is waiting to shake the ground. The beast is roaring in the canyon. Prepare yourself for Dettifoss. This is not the prettiest waterfall in Iceland, but it is the most powerful in all of Europe. It is a monster. It is 330 feet wide and drops 144 feet. But the statistic that matters is the flow. Every second, nearly 500,000 gallons of water crash over the edge. The water is gray and milky because it is full of glacial sediment. It looks like liquid concrete. The noise is deafening. You can feel the vibrations in the rock beneath your feet before you even see the water. The spray is so intense it can be seen from miles away. This raw power is why Ridley Scott chose it for the opening scene of the movie Prometheus, where an alien creates life on Earth. Standing at the edge, there are no railings in some parts. It is just you and the abyss. It is terrifying, and it is exhilarating. This isn't a theme park. It is nature in its most raw and violent form. The ground beneath your boots actually trembles. If you close your eyes, the sound is overwhelming. A low-frequency rumble that you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears. This is the power of the Jökulsá-Fjöllum River. This river originates from the Vatnajökull Glacier, the massive ice cap we saw earlier on the journey. As the glacier melts, it releases this thick, sediment-heavy water. It's not blue, it's a milky, darker gray, often called glacial milk. It carries sand, ash, and rock, acting like liquid sandpaper. Over centuries, this abrasive flood has carved out a massive canyon, Jökulsárgljúfur, slicing through the landscape like a jagged wound. You are looking at Dettifoss. By volume, this is the most powerful waterfall in all of Europe. Every single second, nearly 500 cubic meters of water plummet over the edge. To put that in perspective, imagine 500 tons of water crashing down every time you blink. It falls 144 feet into the canyon below, creating a plume of mist that can be seen from miles away. On a sunny day, this mist catches the light and creates massive double rainbows that arc across the gorge. But on a grey day, it looks like a scene from a different planet. In fact, the opening scene of the movie Prometheus was filmed right here because it looks so prehistoric, so alien. It feels like the Earth is being created or destroyed right in front of you. But just upstream, there is a strange contrast. If you turn your back on the roaring beast and look up the river, the landscape changes completely. A smaller, wider waterfall seems almost calm compared to the monster behind you. The quiet sister is just around the bend. Many people visit Dettifoss, take their selfie with the roaring grey water and rush back to the bus. They are missing out on one of the most elegant sights in the north. What many overlook is Selfoss, just a short, rocky walk upstream. It is not as tall as Dettifoss, standing only about 36 feet high, but where Dettifoss is about power and volume, Selfoss is about shape and beauty. It is shaped like a perfectly symmetrical horseshoe. The riverbed here is wide and flat, so the water doesn't rush into a single funnel. Instead, it cascades down in many different streams, creating a wide, elegant curtain of white against the black rock. Because the canyon is wider here, the water is calmer. It does not roar, it hums. The sound is soothing, a consistent white noise that lets you think. This spot offers a much better look at the geology that defines Iceland. The basalt columns here are clearly visible, standing like the pipes of a church organ. These columns form when lava cools and contracts, cracking into perfect hexagonal shapes. You can see them standing firm, jagged rocks fighting a losing battle against the relentless grey water. It is a place to reflect. You can stand here and watch the water gathering speed. It flows past you with a deceptive smoothness, glassy and flat, knowing that in just a few hundred yards it is going to turn into the violent chaos of Dettifoss. It is rare to see two such different waterfalls so close together. One is pure aggression, a hammer striking the earth. The other is flow and grace, a veil dropping over the rocks. It is a perfect example of Iceland's dual nature. But we are moving away from the grey water now. We are leaving the barren, rocky plateau and heading towards a place that feels impossible. We are heading to a place that legend says was not made by water or ice, but by the hoof of a god's horse. Odin left his mark here. This is Aspergi Canyon. Looking at it from above on a map or from a drone shot, the shape is unmistakable. It is not a jagged crack like the river canyon. It is a perfect U-shaped horseshoe. It is massive, over 2 miles long and half a mile wide, surrounded by vertical cliffs that rise 300 feet straight up. The walls are so steep and so flat that they look like the walls of a fortress built by giants. Geologists have a scientific explanation, of course. They will tell you that this canyon was formed by a catastrophic glacial flood thousands of years ago. They say a volcano erupted under the Vatnajökull glacier, melting the ice instantly and sending a tsunami of water and ice tearing across the land, carving this shape in a matter of days. It is a terrifying thought. But the locals have a better story. They say that Odin, the chief of the Norse gods, was riding his steed, Sleipnir, across the sky. Sleipnir wasn't a normal horse. He had 8 legs and could run across the air as easily as the ground. As Odin rode across the heavens, one of Sleipnir's giant hooves slipped and touched the earth. That single stomp stamped this canyon into the ground, leaving a hoofprint that has lasted for eternity. Regardless of which story you believe, the feeling inside the canyon is magical. Inside these high walls, something rare happens. There is a forest. Iceland is famous for having very few trees, but here, birch and willow trees grow tall and thick. They are protected from the harsh Arctic wind by the high cliff walls, creating a microclimate. It is incredibly peaceful. The acoustics of the canyon shut out the noise of the outside world. Birds sing louder here. The air smells of pine and damp earth. At the very end of the canyon, in the toe of the horseshoe, lies a small pond called Botnstjorn. It is a lush green oasis in a land of volcanic rock. Legend also says this canyon is the capital city of the Huldufolk, the hidden people or elves. Icelandic folklore takes elves very seriously. They are said to live in the cliffs and rocks, watching the humans who visit. If you are going to see an elf in Iceland, this is the place. It feels watched, but in a benevolent way. It is a sanctuary. But we are leaving the land of elves and forests now. We are heading to the sea. To the cold waters of the north to find the giants of the ocean. The whales are waiting in the bay. Welcome to Húsavík. This charming little town on the north coast has earned the title of the whale-watching capital of Europe. It sits on the edge of Skjálfandi Bay. The name Skjálfandi literally translates to shaky bay, likely because of the frequent earthquakes in the area. But for the animals, this bay is a buffet. The water here is cold and rich in nutrients. Rivers flow into the bay, mixing fresh water with salt water, creating the perfect conditions for plankton and krill to explode in numbers. And where there is plankton, the giants follow. You have a 99% chance of seeing a whale here in the summer season. It is almost guaranteed. The boats leave the harbor every hour. Many of them are traditional oak fishing boats restored and repurposed for tourism. There is something special about being on a wooden boat, feeling the heavy roll of the sea, smelling the salt spray and the varnish of the deck. It connects you to the history of the people who lived here. Humpbacks are the stars of the show. They are the acrobats of the ocean. Despite weighing up to 40 tons, they love to breach, jumping completely out of the water and crashing down with a splash that looks like a bomb went off. They slap their massive pectoral fins against the water and wave their tails in the air before diving deep. Seeing a creature that size, just a few yards from your boat, changes your perspective on life. You realize how small you really are. You might also see minke whales, which are faster and more elusive. You'll see pods of white-beaked dolphins playing in the bow waves of the boat. And if you are incredibly lucky, if the ocean gods are smiling on you, you might see the massive blue whale. They are the largest animals to ever live on Earth, bigger than any dinosaur. Seeing a blue whale is a humbling experience. Their breathing sounds like a steam engine venting pressure. The town of Husavik itself is postcard perfect. It looks like a toy village with colorful corrugated iron houses in reds, yellows and blues, and a harbor filled with masts. It gained worldwide fame recently thanks to the Will Ferrell movie Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga. The song Husavik was a beautiful tribute to this town and was even nominated for an Oscar. The locals loved the attention. They even built a Jaja Ding Dong bar in town to celebrate the movie's inside jokes. But aside from the Hollywood fame, Husavik has deep roots. It was actually the first place in Iceland where a settler built a house. A Swedish Viking named Gardar Svavarsson stayed here for the winter way back in the year 870. He built a house or hus in the bay or vik, hence the name Husavik. It is a place of beginnings. But our journey leads us south now, to a waterfall that marked a very specific ending, the end of the pagan gods. The idols were thrown into the water here. We are stopping at Godafoss, right off the main ring road. If you compare it to Dettifoss, it seems small. It is not the biggest and it is not the most powerful. But the story here is arguably the most important in Icelandic history. The name literally means waterfall of the gods. Visually, it is stunning. It is a curved waterfall shaped like a crescent moon. The water here comes from a different river, the Skjálfandafljót. It runs over an ancient lava field that is 8,000 years old. The water drops about 40 feet into a turquoise pool. Unlike the grey sludge of Dettifoss, the water here has had time to settle, turning a beautiful, clear blue-green. It is elegant and symmetrical, but the name comes from a dramatic, tense event in the year 1000. At that time, Iceland was on the brink of a civil war. The country was divided. Half the population believed in the Old Norse gods, Odin, Thor, Freya, the gods of war and thunder who had been with them since the Viking Age. The other half had converted to the new religion arriving from Europe, Christianity. The tension was so high that at the Althing, the annual parliament meeting, the two sides refused to speak to each other. They were ready to draw swords. To stop the bloodshed, the leaders agreed to let one man decide the fate of the nation. That man was the law speaker, Thorgeir Ljosvetninga. He was a pagan priest, a man of the old ways, but he was respected for his fairness. He was given an impossible task. Choose one religion for everyone. If he chose wrong, the country would tear itself apart. Legend says he went into his booth, lay down under a fur blanket, and meditated for 24 hours. He didn't speak, he didn't eat. He just thought. When he emerged the next day, he made his decision. Iceland would be Christian, but he added a caveat. People could still worship the old gods in secret if they wanted to. It was a brilliant political compromise. To prove he was serious and to show that the old era was officially over, he traveled back to his home near this waterfall. He took his wooden statues of the Norse gods, the idols he had worshipped his whole life, and he threw them into the churning water. It was a symbolic act of letting go of the past. Watching the water crash down today, you can almost feel the weight of that history. The water rushes over the lava rock, washing away the old ways, churning the wooden gods into splinters. It is a peaceful spot now, a place where tourists stop for coffee and photos, but it was born from deep cultural conflict. A mountain shaped like an arrow is waiting. We are heading west now, leaving the north and driving onto the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. As you drive along the northern coast of this peninsula, a shape appears on the horizon that grabs your attention immediately. You have definitely seen this mountain before. It is on postcards, screensavers, and Instagram feeds all over the world. This is Kirkjufell. It is widely considered the most photographed mountain in the entire country. It rises 1,500 feet out of the ocean like a perfect cone. From one angle, it looks like a wizard's hat or a church steeple, which is what its name means. Church Mountain. It stands alone, separated from the main mountain range, which makes it look even more dramatic. But here is the trick. It is all about the angle. If you walk around the mountain to the side, the cone shape disappears. It stretches out and looks like a long, flat ridge, almost like the hull of a capsized ship. It is an optical illusion created by nature. Fans of Game of Thrones know this place well. In the show, it was called Arrowhead Mountain. It was the landmark the heroes had to find beyond the wall to capture a white. It was the birthplace of the Night King. In reality, it is just as spooky and majestic as it looked on TV. There is a small waterfall nearby called Kirkjufellsfoss. It's a small three-step waterfall, but it is famous for its positioning. Photographers line up here for hours, sometimes fighting for tripod space to get the money shot. They frame the waterfall in the foreground with the mountain looming perfectly in the background. In the winter, this is one of the best places on Earth to see the aurora borealis. When the northern lights dance above the peak in ribbons of green and purple, reflecting in the ocean below, it looks like something from another planet. It looks like fantasy art come to life. But be warned, looking is safer than touching. Climbing Kirkjufell is incredibly dangerous. It looks steep, and it is. The rock is loose volcanic rubble. In the summer, it is slippery with mud. In the winter, it is icy. Many tourists, inspired by social media, try to climb it without the right gear or guides. Sadly, there have been fatal accidents here. People get stuck on the narrow ridges and need to be rescued by helicopter. It is a mountain that demands respect. It is better to admire its geometry from the ground. This mountain is the gateway to the rest of the peninsula. Snæfellsnes is often called Iceland in miniature because it has a little bit of everything: volcanoes, glaciers, lava fields, craters, and black beaches. And at the very tip of this peninsula lies the crown jewel. This is where the journey to the center begins. We end our journey at the very tip of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula at the Snæfellsjökull Glacier. This is one of the most mystical places on the planet. It is a stratovolcano, a perfect cone shape, capped with a thick layer of glacial ice, rising nearly 5,000 feet above the sea. On a clear day, the white peak is visible all the way from Reykjavik, 75 miles away across the bay. This mountain has captured the human imagination for centuries. This is the exact spot where the French author Jules Verne set his famous science fiction book, Journey to the Center of the Earth. In the story, the characters find a tunnel inside the crater of this volcano that leads them deep underground into a world of dinosaurs and mushroom forests. Verne had never actually visited Iceland, but he chose this mountain because of its reputation for mystery. That reputation still exists today. Many people believe this mountain is one of the 7 energy centers or chakras of the world. It is a magnet for spiritual seekers, New Age practitioners, and ufologists. Some claim they feel a strange vibration or a hum when they stand near the glacier. There are constant rumors and legends about aliens using the glacier as a landing base or ghosts protecting the summit. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, there is undeniably a heavy, powerful atmosphere here. The mountain feels alive. The landscape surrounding the volcano is wild and rugged. Just down the road is the black pebble beach of Djúpalónsandur. It is a place of shipwrecks and history. On the beach, you will find 4 smooth, heavy stones lying in the sand. These are the lifting stones. Centuries ago, fishermen used these stones to test their strength to see if they were fit to work on the boats. The stones have names. The smallest is Amlodi, useless, weighing 23 kilograms. If you could only lift that, you didn't get the job. Then came half-Drettinger, weakling, at 54 kilograms, half-Stöcker, half-strong, at 100 kilograms, and the massive full-Stöcker, full-strong, weighing 154 kilograms. You can still try to lift them today, but be careful with your back. It connects you instantly to the hardship of the Icelandic ancestors. Around the corner you have massive lava fields covered in soft green moss that is inches thick. Walking on it feels like walking on a memory foam mattress. You have the Londranger basalt cliffs, two massive rock pinnacles that look like a dark castle rising from the ocean, battered by the North Atlantic waves. Snæfellsnes is the perfect end to our trip because it captures the soul of Iceland. Fire and ice, mystery and beauty, hard reality and ancient myth, all existing in one place. It is a land that feels like it is still being formed, a land that makes you feel small, and a land that begs you to return. But the island is not done with you yet. The memories of the grey power of Dettifoss, the silence of Odin's Canyon, and the white cap of the energy volcano will stick with you long after you get on the plane. Iceland doesn't just let you visit, it changes you. So here is the thing nobody tells you about Iceland. It is not just a destination, it is a warning. We have seen waterfalls that hide gold, beaches that steal lives, and mountains that hold the secrets of the earth. But after seeing all this beauty and danger, I have to ask you one controversial question. If a volcano erupted in your backyard tomorrow, would you run away or would you stay to watch the show? Let me know in the comments below. If you survived this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more adventures. I will see you in the next one.